We'd now like to begin our regularly scheduled council meeting of March 6, 2014. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Councilman Brannan, would you honor us in the invocation? Please stand.
Let us bow our heads and remember we're in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer as a community through our actions. We want to pray in a special way for our young adults, in particular the family of Haley Howard. We all can only sense the loss of a child, and so our community is grieving with them. And please protect all of our children as they venture out on their own in this world. We want to pray for the unrest in the Ukraine and Russia, that you give wisdom to the leaders to come to a peaceful resolution. And we want to pray for those who have passed, particularly some who are close to us on the council. Mr. Donald Newcombs, the father-in-law of Keith Rayno, and of course the father of Donna Rayno. And we want to pray for those who are victims, that you continue to help them heal in whatever their challenge is. And while we often look at the criminal and not want to shed any goodness upon them, we ask your blessing upon them, that you heal their hearts and don't hurt others. We have a special intention from Councilmember Stagney.
Lord, please keep Mr. Walt Benetti and lift him. He's suffering through his 15th surgery.
For these things and all blessings, we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Miss Emily Hendricks, would you please come up and say the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the party for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job.
Thank you, Emily.
Good luck.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Councilmember Rayno is absent. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. The consent agenda this evening consists of Item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of February 20th, 2014. Item 2, approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1797/14, the Crescent City Cruiser Classic Car Club, Incorporated, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a classic car cruise night on March 21st, 2014. April 18, 2014, May 16, 2014, June 20, 2014, July 18, 2014, August 15, 2014, September 19, 2014, and October 17, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Lake Town, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 1798/14, Linda Vicknair, to hold a public gathering for a purpose of a block party on March 23, 2014, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 196 Jelby Avenue in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3C is application number 1799/14, the American Cancer Society, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a Relay for Life fundraiser, the Glow Run, on May 10, 2014, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. throughout various streets in the city of Kenner. Item 3D is application number 1800/14, American Cancer Society, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a Relay for Life fundraiser on May 10th and 11th, 2014, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Musbertolino Stadium at 600 West Esplanade Avenue in Kenner, Louisiana. Items 3A is application number 1801/14, the City of Kenner, to hold a public gathering on May 15, 2014 through May 19th, 2014, for the moving wall and procession, times to be determined, at Veterans Park, 1801 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3F is application number 1802/14, the City of Kenner and the Treasure Chest Casino to hold a public gathering for the purpose of music and crawfish on the lake on March 14, 2014, March 28, 2014, and April 11, 2014, from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Lake Town in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3G is application number 1803/14, the Vineyard Church to hold a public gathering for the purpose of an Easter sunrise service on April 20th, 2014, from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. at 4340 Salentini Parkway in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence reports from the mayor and our CAO or department heads. We have none. Item 5 is acceptance or rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Jackson Truck and Trailer Repair in the amount of $2,627 to repair engine 368 in accordance with telephone bid number T14-2141 for the Kenner Fire Department. Item number 6 is acceptance, change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings, final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote.
One more? One more? Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9, under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,660, an ordinance amending the 2003-2004 capital budget to reallocate $58,917 from evaluation of levies to code enforcement upgrades/equipment for the Department of Code Enforcement.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote to open a public hearing.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
We are now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance number 11,660. If there's anyone that would like to speak before the council, please come forth now. Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black, to close the public hearing. Please vote. Motion
Madam
to,
Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
motion to approve by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black. Councilwoman Brannigan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think most of us met earlier with the administration to discuss some of these items that will be up for approval tonight. Just in summary, just in summary, the extra items that are going to be completed in the project include the following: a plumbing issue that we came across in doing the renovation, some windows that initially we had the contractor bid out, and we thought, or the administration thought, that it came back rather high, so they bid out that item on its own. Each of these independently bid out, not change orders to a contract that already existed, and we were kind of stuck with whatever cost we got. Some cabinets to upgrade the kitchen area, $19,000 for some workstations, which were needed for, I guess they used to be called cubicles. Today they call them workstations, but for each of our employees to have to work at. And then some, I don't remember what the additional cost code enforcement renovations was, the $7,000. But in any event, my point was that all of these items were bid out separately so that we could get the best price. And I guess the window price that we got from the contractor was the thing that kind of brought up a red flag, and they decided to go out and bid each of these things out separately. The money that is being used was money that had been set aside years ago for some levy evaluations. Thank you, that's the word. But after the money was set aside in our capital budget, we were told that the levy, it didn't matter what we found in the levy evaluation, the information was only that, and that was not our jurisdiction or our responsibility. Therefore, the money sat there, I believe, since I think it was set aside by Councilmember Mayor Capitano's administration, and then Mayor Munez was told that we should not be spending that money on that, or decided that. So the money that we're using came from the capital budget and was set aside for a different expenditure. What is the $7,000? I don't remember what the $7,000 was for.
Jerry and I are still working with them about some change orders. Some air conditioning duct work, we didn't agree with where it was going to go because they would have to tear out a whole wall, so we're making them reroute it. And then there's also some sheetrock work that in the director's office. So there's still some pending change orders that we haven't approved yet, but we're still working with the contractor. But, we just have it out. We just have it as a budgeted item in the event that we approve it and come to the council for those change orders. But we've been working with them. We haven't been exactly in agreement to everything, so we're still working on pricing with them.
Okay, so once those items are determined, the cost, and if there's any monies that are left over, it will remain in the capital budget unless it's rebudgeted for another item. And my point in saying that is because when you were doing cost estimates on things prior to the actual estimates coming in, the windows, for example, while $40,000 was a cost savings, the estimate only really came in around 30-something thousand. So there'll be some money left over in that one line item in and of itself. So just wanted to explain what these items were. They were not, besides the plumbing issue, and then, of course, there's always a punch list when you do construction. We were always aware of the fact that we were going to need windows, or, well, not always, but at some point it was determined that the windows would be a project that should come with this. We were always under the impression that we'd need workstations. So these are things that we were aware would be coming as costs, but were just not associated with the actual contract for the renovation. So just wanted to explain what it was about. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Originally, it was 2 years ago. What did we budget in the capital budget? Was it $350?
We originally budgeted $400,000
And
in
then
2 years.
subsequent to that, we added more money to it, didn't we?
No, that was, we included it in two different budgets. The two totaled $400,000.
Okay, so originally it was three-something, then the next budget, we put more money in it.
Right.
And now we're putting an additional $58,000. So we're approaching $500,000 on renovating the code office, an office that maybe we needed to make more handicap accessible, but $500,000 is quite a lot of money. Is the administration still looking at moving City Hall to South Kenner?
The only thing that we've ever discussed is the old school building, but we would never be able to move all lock, stock, and barrel. It's just not big enough. If we ever was able to get enough money, we'd probably move the court, which is the council chamber.
Yeah, my concern would be that we spend close to $500,000, we're not finished yet, $500,000 to renovate a code office and then turn around within 2 or 3 years and move it to the school.
Building A, B, and C would never even come close to fitting into that building. If we were fortunate enough to do that, it would essentially be this building. But Building B and Building C are here to stay for quite a long time that we anticipate. So we have no plans to move Building B or Building C at all. Again, it would just be the court and the council chamber because of the fact that that old school has that beautiful auditorium that would be perfect if we ever moved the court down there or the council chamber. But that's not even the foreseeable future either.
All right, thank you, Mr. Quigley.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm not sure who will be able to answer this question, so I'm just going to open it to the floor. Our ability to move these monies to the Code Department, is it because there have been discussion about the Corps of Engineering raising the levies for the first time in 30 years? Is this in some way connected to that, our ability not to have that money? Just like Councilwoman Brannigan said, that's out of our jurisdiction. We got out of our lane. So if this part of that conversation.
Right. Actually, that's a good point. The fact that the Corps has now, the federal government has certified our levies as 100-year levies, has already certified them. So that makes this money moot. It was done in 2003. For whatever reasons, it was decided to try to do an evaluation of the levies, which was really not the purview of this government. But you're making a good point. Yes, all of the levees that's around Kenner right now have been certified as 100-year flood levees. So the idea that this money would be used for evaluating levees is a moot point at this point.
Yeah, and that's good to know, because obviously District 1, you know, the levees are right there within the community. It affects the whole city, but it immediately affects, I should say, the District 1 area. So it's good to know that, one, we're able to move the money, but also that the process to make the levy system better has not gone away, and we should look forward to these improvements. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. And I'd just like, Councilwoman, you want to call? I just would like to add that in comments that Councilman stated, we've heard for several years, many years, about City Hall not remaining in this location. There was some talks about 10, 15 years ago about moving it to further north to Lake Town, because we had the property there. There's also been talk about moving it to the old Kenner School location, and the repairs in that building are astronomical. It's a beautiful building, and interior needs so much work that I know that we're going to stay in this building for a long time. And as conservative as I was, when we walked into this meeting, I had some problems and some things that I need questions that we had. But in a discussion, they showed me, and Mr. Quigley proved to me at that time that my concerns were that the $7,000, first of all, I had concerns about us approving that without really knowing if it was going to exceed that amount, and we might have to come back later. But their conservative attitude in regards to the windows, when they were going to put a change order, they came back with an astronomical figure, and the city decided to go out and bid on that for the windows, which saved us a lot of money. And we bid some other projects that were included in the change order that was higher than we could have expected, so we went out for bids to that. So I'm convinced that we're going to have renovations of the code enforcement building. You know, it's all mishmash with certain little rooms. I think they're going to improve the efficiency of the department, and as you said, the workstations will greatly improve, and I think having a nice surroundings for the people that come into that want to get permits in the city of Kenner and want to make improvements in our city, having a nice building that they can see, an affordable building that we can afford, is going to make a lot of sense to me. So I will be supporting this. And Councilman Brannigan, would you, if there's no other discussion, I will have you
Just
close.
comment on that. We think that once we move back in May, I think both on the customer side, it's going to be a lot more user-friendlier. It's going to be very obvious. Everybody's going to go to that one area. And on the work side, where we are, the employees are, it's going to be situated in a much better, where they're going to be able to work more efficiently and handle, you know, the public a lot better. So it's going to be a much more efficient way of working, and plus the fact that we're going to have we won't have any ADA issues with the restrooms. There'll be a ADA compliant restroom.
Right.
So it's going to be a big improvement for the public, and it's also going to help our employees to be able to serve the public better.
Right, and I know they're doing other work in that building also because of the plumbing and lines that had been collapsed and stuff. So that building has been there as long as I can remember, at least 30 years for sure, maybe longer than that. And so it's time for some renovations. It's time for modernization. And the fact that the $58,000 that we had in place there for the project helped a great deal. So I will let Mr. Carroll, would you please remove your light? I will give the floor to Ms. Brannigan to close. He already spoke.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just 2 points. I think, I don't want to say that we went out to bid for everything, because one of the things we got through a state contract, correct?
All right, actually, the plumbing part, Jerry went and priced that out. So
Okay, so that
the
was
plumbing
priced
part
out.
was the window. As you remember, we did a deductive change order a few weeks ago, and when we were talking to everybody, we said that we decided we'd have to make replace the windows.
Right.
But we got a price from the contractor, and I got to give Jerry a lot of credit. Jerry just didn't think that was, we thought, a good price. So we said, you know, we could go ahead and bid it out separately and just wait till the project finishes before the employees get back in, and we just put the windows in right after the contractor moves out. So we bid that out. We think we got a real good price. Later on in the meeting, item 15D, I'm sorry, 15D will be the acceptance of the new windows. So presuming that this passes, that'll allow us to go ahead and let you accept the low bidder. It's like $30,000. So we think we got a real good price on that. I think we saved a lot of money. And then the contract didn't call for workstations. So we're going to work on trying to look on state contracts
Okay.
for the
Well,
workstations.
okay, so we've got a great price on the windows. How many of us that part, but I don't want anybody, it's an election year. I want to watch my words. Not everything was bid out in a private bid. Some things were going to go off of state contract.
The workstations.
But in any event, it's to get a better price than what we could have got when you have a general contractor, and they call in things. They get paid for making the call and overseeing the work. So anyway, I didn't want somebody to say, well, you never went out for bid on X, Y, or Z. Some of these things, while part of the project, will be under other contracts or they'll be bid out separately. Okay, point made. The second thing that I wanted to say and I wanted to expound on was what Mr. Quigley had started to speak about was, you know, in the meeting, I asked, how are we justifying this cost, which is always something that's on our minds and in our hearts when we're spending the money. And just so that you have the benefit of what I heard at that meeting, the Code Enforcement Department will now be, the employees will be cross-trained, which means that when you walk in, if the person who first sees you is not the person who normally did the garage sale permits, you are still going to be helped because this person is now going to be cross-trained to be able to do whatever it is that the person is coming to code enforcement for. So nobody's at lunch that can't help you. Nobody's on break that can't help you. Nobody called in sick on that day that can't help you. This is going to be a much more user-friendly, community-friendly department that will be able to answer, anybody will be able to answer your question to almost anything. Now, that being said, we do have people who are specifically trained to review plans or, you know, and things like that, that it will go to before those people. We obviously are not going to be able to train everybody to have as much skill as the next person. But what I heard and what I hope you hear is that all of these renovations are going to benefit the community in that we're going to be able to serve you quicker, and there'll be more people who are able to answer any question and not just call you back. So that to me was, you know, I hate to say that that's the complaint that we get from any department, because obviously people are calling us when something goes wrong, but often when we're in the community, we are reminded that we do a lot of things right as well. But in sitting and trying to determine how to spend our money best, it's obvious that you sit around a table and talk about what's wrong so that you can figure out how to fix it. So I'm very excited about that, because that's been the one thing I think that's been lacking in our customer service, is that we've had more people trained in more ways. So very excited about that. And I know Mr. Quigley mentioned May, but just to bring that home, in May, around the 9th, 10th, and no later than 14th, 15th, is when we will be bringing our code enforcement back to this building where people are more accustomed to coming. So thank you very much, and I'll be voting for this.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Stagney's opposed. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,661, an ordinance amending the 2011-2012 and the 2012-2013 capital budget to budget additional funds received by the Parks and Recreation Department dedicated to capital in the amount of $45,325 for the Kenner Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman Black. Hearing no discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to open your public hearing.
We are now in a public hearing to discuss summary ordinance number 11,661. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address this matter, please come forth now and give your name for 3 minutes. Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black to approve,
No, to close.
close, excuse me.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilman Brannigan, second by Councilman Black to approve. Councilman Stagney, you had the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Maricoli. This is part of the recreation ordinance that I authored to dedicate monies to, back to the parks and playgrounds from playground rentals, correct?
Yes.
What do we want to, what do you have in mind for the 45,000?
We have several projects that we're looking to do. Basically, we're in the process of getting all those together through each department or each section of my department. We have some projects that's going to be dedicated to leisure services, some to City Park, some to athletics. We're going to be doing a field, a backstop on a field and different things like that.
What about, I know I'm harping on this, what about the gymnasiums in our city? I mean, there's letters falling off the gyms, many of them need to be repainted.
Well, I mean, we've talked about that last time, about the painting of the gyms. The issue comes into is, do we spend money to paint them, and then as you know with Butch Dewey, go through the problems we had in the past, or do we look at other methods? And even with this money, that's not enough to do one facility for that way.
Well, I
So
think
we
the
have so many, we
alternative,
have so many needs throughout the department that, you know, to put all this money in, like all our eggs in one basket, so to speak.
well, the alternative of doing nothing continues to be a visual eyesore throughout the city on all of our gymnasiums. They just don't look very nice. I think there's some mixed feelings on whether you had talked about doing maybe stuccoing some of the buildings.
Absolutely.
And, you know, with the soil subsidence problems in our area, they were saying that's probably a problem because of the cracking that would go on. But, you know, we're spending a lot of money to put flowers in the neutral ground and beautify the city. You know, we have to show the general public, if they're going to have confidence in us to do that, we have to maintain what we already have. And I think the gyms are sorely needed with paint. Maybe several of them, we put floors down, but they have roof leaks. So we need to get that stuff fixed. And if there's money available outside of recreation that we can put into recreation, these are facilities that our citizens utilize. Our children play in them. I think it's important that we try to get those things looking and looking better and making them more functional for our children.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. The unfortunate thing is that we basically, you know, for so many years, there's just been so many problems, and we just haven't been able to address them all. So we are definitely working on the issues that with the funding that we get will be for problems that exist. It's not like we're just going and buying luxuries. We're actually going to look at other problems in areas that we've had to, you know, we've had program, like for example, one of the things in leisure services is we have programs that we have equipment that is really way behind the times, and we're trying to bring that up to a standard so that our kids that participate in those programs can have suitable equipment.
Right.
So that's why it's not dedicated specifically to one facility, that we're trying to spread it around and give a little bit to each area that you just haven't had the money to put to them in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And this is just commenting on the conversation between Mr. Maricoli and Councilman Stagney. Obviously, there are some things, there are some modifications and revisions and updating that we have started at the Recreation Department. But there are more to be done. And I'm not trying to hold you to any direct answers right now. Some of the conversation myself and Councilman Danapolis talked about the overall structure of the gym and the painting of the gym the ambiance of the gym, I guess. He mentioned something about a rhino shield. So those are some things that I think living in this part of the world that we should look into, because this is something we have to address, and it will be something. You and I talked about other things also. I don't want to get into that right now, but it is something for us to be able to ensure.
We actually have looked into those type of options, but again, it's not like that, you know, it's a costly option. It's not like these options are just, you know, where if we just do the Rhino Shield painting on the size of the facilities that we have, that it's going to be, you know, a small amount. These are still large amounts that even in this amount of money here isn't going to cover that. And again, we have so many needs in the Recreation Department that we're trying to spread it around as much as we can to try to take care of things that haven't been touched in many, many years.
Yeah, and I'm not an advocate or a salesman for the Rhino Shield. Let me just make that perfectly clear. I wasn't suggesting that.
And I understand.
Yeah, I was suggesting that this is something that we're going to have to spend some time taking a look at to address the total picture. Would not want to jump into something just to spurt out Rhino Shield, whatever it is, if it's not the best fit for the cost and for longevity, because I think that's what we have to look at for those type of modifications. And that's what we have to discuss in the future to come. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Mr. Mike Quigley, you have the mic.
The good news is that when we do the budget every year, we just do this as a projection. And the good news is that the revenues came in a lot more than what we projected. So this means that on top of I think the 130,000 I think we budgeted last year, that means they did such a good job of renting out the facilities. We got $45,000 more than we expected. So we can do the things that we're hoping that we'll be able to do, and maybe spruce up and modify the gym. So the whole idea of this ordinance is to up the budget, because we exceeded projections. So I think that Ken and his crew need to be congratulated on increasing the revenues. So it gives us $45,000 more to spend than what we thought we had.
Well, I think I think it's understood by everybody in the audience and up here that we need to maintain the services that we currently have, and that's the first priority. And I think that, you know, I certainly agree with my colleagues and their thoughts about that, but I think also, I think the Recreation Department has enough common sense to already know that, don't you?
Absolutely.
That having the facilities and not maintaining them is not the way to go. So, Councilwoman Brannigan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I actually was going to say almost exactly what Councilmember Carroll said, and not to give Rhino Shield another plug since we've done it 18 times tonight, but you know, just the whole philosophy of instead of putting lipstick on the pig kind of thing, that we start investing, even if it's one at a time, in the best. I mean, for a long time, it was difficult to convince us to put down rubberized surfaces because we could go buy a couple bags of mulch and be done with it, and at a fraction of the cost. But at some point, the wisdom overruled the frugality? What's the word?
Frugality.
The cheapness of us, and we understood the value in it.
Right.
So, and the cost did come down. I mean, you know, when rubberized surfacing first came out, it was so expensive that it was just something we could only dream about. So, I just use that as why am I having such a hard time? Analogy that perhaps that is something we shouldn't just discount because it's so costly. Maybe, you know.
Oh, I promise you that's not something we're discounting. We're
Okay.
looking at all our options. But again, we want something that's going to last. I mean, and a few years ago, we did a job at Butch Dewey, and we painted it, and it cost us in the neighborhood of about $70-something thousand. And then we had to get the contractor back out there because the painting didn't adhere to the metal, and I mean, so it was a big problem. Again, the age of the gyms and the quality of the equipment that are on the sides of these facilities make a difference. So we are looking at all options, and believe me, we want to get the most bang for our buck because we know that it's limited, and we're trying to do everything we can to improve.
No, I
the
know
quality.
you are. I mean, you know, I guess that type of process also seals a building, and so it helps with other things, and so it's been something that's been attractive to homeowners. So anyway, getting off.
But actually, absolutely, we've had conversations with that type of material and people that do that kind of installation to get pricing and get things. That is definitely something in the forefront. But again, it's just that if you look at several of the options, when you come to pricing, that's one of
Right.
the reasons why we were going that way.
Well, I'd rather do that and invest money in that than I hate to say, do stuccoing, but, you know, we've seen a lot of issues come up with people not stuccoing properly, putting stucco over a surface, and then you have moisture behind it, and then it has to be redone anyway. So, anyway.
Again, that was just another option that we were looking at because of the fact that it's a lot easier for us if we had that kind of a thing, if there's ever a need to paint again, that we can go out and use just rollers and do things in-house without having to go to a contractor. Again, we're looking at every option we can to ensure that we get the most bang for our buck, but something that's a long-term solution. You know, I can't stand making sure that we put bad money into good, and meaning pay something just to put a Band-Aid on it, or lipstick on a pig, as you said, to make sure that in a year or 2 years that we redo it again. So we're trying to make sure that when we do it, it's something that lasts. So there are
Right.
several
Well,
options.
I know, and the other thing about stucco is that sometimes it makes a building uninsurable. I know we self-insure quite a bit, but we would certainly want to understand what the industry is leaning away from wanting to insure. So a solid brick, or I guess it's not really brick, it's
We use cinder blocks.
cinder block, yeah. But that would be more attractive from an insurance because of the problems that stuccos cause. But anyway, okay, second question. How much, do you know how much that ordinance that was passed in 2007 has generated?
I actually have a printout in my office. I want to say it's been over at least 750,000 since that started.
Wow,
At least. That's a very conservative figure.
that's really wonderful.
Very conservative.
Great. Okay, well,
And I can assure you that
we were all here in '07, so I guess I should say how, right? We were all here in '07.
And I can assure you that there's been a lot of things that are very visible with those repair monies that we've put into it. So it's definitely been a fantastic ordinance for our department, and we've gotten a lot accomplished with that ordinance going forward.
Okay, well, congratulations to whoever wrote the ordinance. And I thought everybody was here at that time, but anyway, that's extraordinary. And so I know you know what you're doing, but
I try.
they pay us the big bucks to interject our 2 cents.
I understand.
So there you go.
Thank you, Councilman Brannigan. Councilwoman DeFrancis, you have the floor. There is no light on for Councilman Denopoulos. Excuse me, but I've been taking myself off because the name Black keeps coming up here, and I don't know why.
They have your Denapolis.
My name keeps showing up. and-
Because he keeps pressing. That's why. You see why?
I apologize. It was a mechanical error. You have the mic, Mr. Denopoulos. Use it to your fullest. It is on.
Hit your button.
Seat 4.
Okay, now it's on. Thank you, Jeannie. I was wondering why you kept kicking me out of line. I thought I might have said something wrong to you tonight. I don't know. Anyway, you know, last year when actually we're starting to schedule budget hearings, okay? And I know last year there was not a whole lot put in recreational capital, okay? And although this ordinance that Joe created has created some money, it's just not enough, okay? So I'm asking you that if possibly you can kind of give us an assessment of our gyms and our playgrounds, okay? And I'm not being parochial about this at all, okay? If one playground needs more money than another district, we just want to see just a snapshot, okay? Because we're getting some complaints, okay? Heater's not working, leaks in the roofs, with, all sorts of things. And I think probably that one of the things that are going to be entrusted with this council is to take a look at what can we do to budget for recreation this year? Because once again, we're renovating City Hall, we're renovating the Public Works building, we renovated these chambers. We need to take a look at every facility that our child plays at and touches, okay? I know a lot of these councilmen up here reach in their pocket, and come up with capital, to help fund some of the things. You and I team up on a lot of things. But I think, to get a real snapshot of what we're really looking at this coming up budget, I'd like to get an assessment, by facility. And I think everybody here in the council would love to look at that. Because once again, you got to take care of your own backyard. And look, we did not give you the funds to do it last year, but maybe this year we can.
And actually, we've been using the money that we've gotten from the ordinance for the past probably 3 or 4 years has been the only capital money that we've had in recreation for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So it hasn't just been this past year.
Right.
So, but we do what we can. I mean, we know that we're limited, and we try to do what we can, and we try to spread it out as much as we can because, again, we have a very large department, and I have 7 sections underneath me that we try to give a little to each to make sure that we don't leave somebody out. So it does get very difficult, and as you know, the last 2 years with the money that we've gotten from this, we purchased a bucket truck for our department, which cost us about $100,000, which took out of being able to do other things. But the bucket truck was so needed because we wasn't able to get to change light bulbs and do things that for security reasons. So, I mean, we're definitely doing what we can with what we have, and we, we're always looking for more, but,
I just think that we're going to have to see that need, budget more money this year, towards the recreational facilities. Because let's face it, families come here to Kenner, they move. That's the only thing they really see in Kenner. I mean, they're not coming to City Hall like you and I are doing every day. They're not, maybe they check in with the brake tag station once a year, but that's about all they see. And those are the things that they're looking at to see that we spend our money wisely. And you're right, we have to give you, there's no doubt that this council has to give you more money this year coming up for recreational facilities.
and we definitely will appreciate it.
I know you can spend it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. And let me just tell you what happened was last meeting, you were the chairman, and the machine got switched, and it never was corrected. So I kept seeing black coming up, and I said, I have nothing to say, but it was really you pushing the button. So I apologize for that. Now, would you take your button off, your light off?
My light.
Okay. Councilwoman DeFrancis, you had the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And we do have a shortage of money to be able to maintain all the playgrounds we have in Kenner. We're very, very fortunate that we have some great recreational opportunities in every part of the city, from the north to the south. But again, when you have that many, it also makes it very difficult to stretch the dollars to make sure that everyone is well maintained. We have been fortunate and unfortunate at the same time because of the past storms. Damage had been done to many of our playgrounds and recreational facilities, but at the same time, some did benefit because of the FEMA dollars we were able to get. And so many of those areas that were hard hit were also again, refurbished because of the FEMA dollars. And others which had maybe not as much damage weren't eligible for FEMA dollars. So we're still trying to play catch up in those areas. And I know even in the playground in District 4 at Moose Bertolino, we have a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And unfortunately, some of them are very, very costly issues because you and I have talked about that. Some of those issues, including the lights, and I was absolutely floored when I realized how much money it would take to replace those lights and what we would have to do in order to do that. But we have to continue to work together to make sure that our playgrounds are adequately, and in fact, more than adequately maintained for the children of this area. So we need to make sure that our money is spent throughout the city, that every playground has at least their major issues first addressed, and then we try to do whatever we can to put those dollars together to go beyond that. So I do know you're working hard to make sure that, that we that we spread that money fairly throughout the city. Again, there are some areas we still have to maintain, and in West Berlina, for example, not only some of the leaks that we have, the bathrooms are still a major issue. We've been working on that for years. So again, it takes all of us working together to make sure that we move the city forward, and every child has a playground and a facility that we're proud to have in which they can play.
Right, and I can assure you two things. Number one, the funding that we did get from FEMA was very welcomed. However, that just touched on certain areas of the facilities. For example, we talked about, we put in new floors and there's still some leaks in roofs. We couldn't, we fought FEMA in a lot of areas trying to get the money for the roofs, but it was just a matter of their answer to us in a lot of cases was prove that it didn't leak prior to the storm. Well, how do you prove something didn't leak prior from the standpoint? So, I mean, there was options that we still have to go through and try to get, which we've actually corrected probably 4 or 5 gym roofs since I've been here and put on new ones early on since, when we got here. There's still a few that need to be done, but it does need to continue. And the other thing comes into is, you said it earlier, that we have so many facilities. We talk about, we've probably changed 5 or 6 tot lots this fiscal year alone, trying to make sure that we get those up to code and up to standards so that, that it's safe for our kids. And I can assure you that we have a priority list of what is most dangerous and moving backwards, and try to make sure that we address the most pressing needs first. So we do spread around based on what is most pressing, and work our way back. So.
You and I have pulled some money together from District 4 money and your money for Miguez Park, for example, to try to do that. But I was going to make a comment on something you said, because it did bother me a little bit. FEMA would not repair some of our roofs. And again, you're right, that was their claim, that some of them leaked. But what they didn't address was the fact that, and this should have been addressed, there might have been some leaks, but they were not major leaks until after the storm. And so, yes, there was a problem before, but if the problem increases dramatically, in which it did in many cases, they should have been responsible for the additional cost of doing those repairs that needed to be done because of the, gravity of the situation that resulted after the storm, and yet they basically blew their responsibility off, in my opinion. So again, I know you fought hard, I know the city fought hard, but
And we're still
unfortunately,
fighting.
we could only get,
Right.
a certain amount from the federal government, and I understand that, but I just wanted to put that on the record, that, there were additional problems that they didn't address and should have addressed, in my opinion. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeFrancis. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution authorizing the city council to enter into a contract with Duplanche, Ratman, Hogan, and Mayer, LLP, for a financial and compliance audit of the 2013-2014 fiscal year in accordance with Section 2.28 of the city charter and providing for related matters.
Motion by Councilman Black, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. I'd like to open it up by saying this contract is normally a 3-year contract, but due to and they were the low bidders 3 years ago, but due to the fact that we are advertising it too late, I'd like Duke, would you expound on it a little bit more and put it in related terms?
Yeah, what y'all are doing basically is normally, it goes out for an RFP, and you do a 3-year contract. At this point, they just finished the audit for last year, which ended the 3 years of the contract. The process to go out for an RFQ, RFP takes about 4 to 5 months to select an auditor. So at this point, if you started the process now, by the time you're ready to select an auditor, you're going to have a new council taking office. If you wait until July to start the process, you're not going to have a contract in place so that they can do a timely audit for this coming year. So what you're doing basically is extending or giving him a contract for 1 more year. He's reducing his price $5,000 from the low price from 3 years ago. And I do want to mention, too, that 3 years ago, he had reduced his price over $20,000 from the previous contract, so he's reduced his price quite a bit. But this is to get, through one more year, and then, next year, the new council will, do.
And the original contract was what, 92 or 80, what was it?
They've done the audit for 10 years now.
And what was the original, the bid 3 years ago? What was
3
it?
years ago, their price was $118,000.
Okay.
And they
so-
lowered it to 95. Now they're lowering it to about 90,000.
Okay, so they have reduced the price, and they have less than a year, really, but I would like to urge you, the administration, to please, start in October, to start getting this in a timely fashion so that the new person or whomever is going to have the contract can pick it up at the beginning of the year.
Well, the process, basically, we assist, but, the council handles the process on this contract.
Okay.
But
Well,
administration
the
obviously
RFPs,
assists.
when you go out for the RFPs and everything, that's what I'm saying. Just begin the process a little bit earlier so that this won't happen again. But I do appreciate the firm, when they contacted me, I asked them, I said, well, it's less than a year. Will you cut it further so that, it'll make us see that you in good faith will continue the job that they've been doing for the last 3 years. So they have cut it again another $5,000. I'm going to ask the council to approve this. If there's any discussion, we'll open it for discussion. Yes, Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And obviously, it makes common sense for us to do what we're doing, considering the fact what has happened, Mr. McConnell. But the bottom line is, how has the firm accommodated you and your staff and the citizens of the city of Kenner? Because getting a good deal is great, but have they met the challenge that you expect them to meet for us to be able to be successful?
Yeah, they've done an excellent job. They're getting the thing done timely. We have to coordinate, our staff with their staff. And, they make their people available, the timeframes that we can get, our part of the work done to make sure it gets done on time. So, they've done a very good job, and, they have qualified staff to do it, and they're able to work in the time frame that assists the city.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And that after this year, like Councilwoman Black said, to be able to be a little bit more, expedient with it to ensure that we get it in time so we won't have to be at this place in the future.
One thing the council may want to consider is to start doing a 4-year contract, which might make more sense at this point,
It will be something to discuss. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. Councilman Stagny, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. That's one of the things I was going to mention. I think it's appropriate that we hold over and let a new council make a selection of the auditor, and that they do that maybe for the term, the next term. So a 4-year period would be more appropriate. I want to thank Councilwoman Black for taking a leadership role. She contacted all of us on this, and she was the one who negotiated with the firm, and I appreciate the firm taking the $5,000 discount from what they've been doing. They've done an excellent job. As Mr. McConnell said, the audits have been timely. I think if any of us call and ask a question of the firm, our questions are always answered. And normally, I think a number of us would be pushing to try to put this out, but we did this last time, and it was a good 3 to 5 months of reviewing all the proposals that came in, and it just doesn't make sense for this council to review the proposals when a new council will come in starting July 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and vote with this, and again, I thank you, Ms. Black, for your leadership.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none.
We have none.
Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,662, an ordinance approving an increase to the authorized expenditure limit for purchases of lights, sirens, accessories, and installation utilizing state contract number 408186 through Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated, doing business as Headquarters 911, to an amount not to exceed $105,000 annually.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Hearing no discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,663. An ordinance approving an agreement with Meyer Engineers LTD in an amount not to exceed $200,000 for professional services associated with the review of Louis Armstrong and New Orleans International Airport expansion projects for compliance with applicable City of Kenner ordinances. Madam Chairman, this evening we've received a request from Councilmember Reyno for a one-meeting deferral on this item.
Moved by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis for a one-meeting deferral. Does anyone want to speak on the deferral? Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
As in our prayer earlier, Mr. and Ms. Reno had to leave town immediately. They had a death in the family, and this is it's already almost $900 million. And you know, with change orders that Ms. Jeannie Black always likes to approve, it could be almost $1 billion project coming to Kenner. And Mr. Reno suggested that he would like to be, he had a meeting scheduled today, could not make it because they had to go out of town for the funeral. And basically, he wants to be part of this decision-making process. This is going to be the biggest project that's ever hit our 15 square miles. And I think that, him requesting this, I think we need to honor that request. And the 2-week deferral is not going to hurt the process. I mean, we haven't even gotten a building permit yet from even starting the permit process with the city of New Orleans. And he just asked us if we could, defer this, and I'm going to go ahead and approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos, and I am anti-change order. I think you're being facetious when you said that. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Quigley, and I'm going to support the deferral for the next meeting, but I needed one question answered. Is this dealing with only plan review, and is the city, my pet peeve is the city needs to be doing inspections because our inspectors are certified.
Only on the deferral.
I think the inspections are a very minor part of this. I think we only got one commercial plan reviewer, and I think at the end of the day, there will probably be stacks and stacks and stacks of specs books and blueprints and so forth, and there's no way Maurice.
No, but that's what I'm asking you. So this is 100% plan review.
No, what I'm saying
and
is.
Kenner's still going to inspect,
But-
correct?
He's asking, are we going to do inspections?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I said that.
Mr. Mayor, you're more than welcome to answer that.
But no, we're still going to be.
Yes is the answer I'm looking for.
Yes, we're still
Thank you,
gonna
Mr.
inspect.
Quigley.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a yes or no answer. Did we get it right now? Okay, hearing no other discussion on the one meeting deferral. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0 for a one-meeting deferral. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,664. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the lowest responsive bid from Subterranean Construction LLC received on February 4, 2014, under sealed bid number 13-6189 in the amount of $882,790 for the construction of drainage improvements to University City and Audubon Place subdivision areas, Phase 1, Hooper, Galan, and Majority Drives, and the intersection of Millsaps Place / Tulane Drive, state project number H.010107, City of Kenner project number 2012-001DR.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Black. Anyway, and I was actually just teasing you when I said about change orders. I know how you are about change orders, Ms. Councilwoman Black. Basically, this is going to be a phase one, of a $3.3 million worth of improvements in the University City. This was a grant that Jose Gonzalez and myself and the administration were able to put together and forward to DOTD. This is going to just be phase one, and once again, there's going to be construction again in District 5, but it needs to happen. I mean, we've had too much repetitive flooding in University City, and the only way to to fix that is fix that with money, and big money. And we're talking $3.3 million, and that's not something with a $178,000 budget I can do every year. But once again, this is phase one. It's probably going to take about 2.5 years to get all 3 phases in the ground. But according to everything, this is going to greatly improve the Audubon city area, Audubon subdivision area, and a good section of the University City area. So once again, I want to thank the administration and Jose on this. And once again, this is just going to be phase one, and I apologize the dust, but we have to create a little dust to get it fixed. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to compliment our colleague for fighting very hard for this money. Back when several of us learned of this money becoming available, District 1, Judge Johnson, former Councilman Mark Johnson, was vying for some of that money. I was vying for some of that money from Westgate, but Councilman Denopoulos did a great job, and he was able to show, unfortunately, the number of repetitive losses for flooding in Audubon and University City, and that went a long way into getting that money. I think it's going to end most of the flooding in those areas, and you deserve a good pat on the back for all of your efforts and the administration's efforts in getting this money, because that's one of the worst areas in our city when it comes to flooding. So congratulations, Councilman Denopoulos. You got the money, and your district's going to be very happy with it.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion on the matter, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,665. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received for the removal of 19 windows and fabrication and installation of 19 new windows for the first floor of City Hall Building B in accordance with letter bid number 14-1512 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilwoman Brannigan, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Councilwoman DeFrancis, would you remove your cue so Councilwoman Brannigan, you have the floor.
So did we get a good price on those windows? This is what we referenced earlier, the windows that were in the rebidding of those items. We had, in the previous legislation, the number was around $40,000, but actually the bid came back at $30,437.32. So I'm sure we'll have something before us, putting those monies somewhere else before long. But in any event, this is what we were referencing earlier in the code enforcement. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman DeFrancis, you had the floor.
Thank you, Council President. But not only did we get a great price, this was something that truly needed to be done. Let me just give you an example. If any of you have come to that building when it's raining, right next to the elevator, the leak is so enormous that I'm afraid sometime that someone getting into the elevator might actually slip and fall. We've had to put towels in that area. It's a horrible situation. Many of those windows have been repaired over and over again. They still continue to leak. It causes damage to the building, and it's a safety hazard. So when you get a great price and you address a problem that has been needed to be addressed for quite a while, that's a good combination. So I'm glad to support this.
Thank you. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Stagney's opposed. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,666, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Gills Carpet Sales Incorporated in the amount of $6,250 to furnish and install quarry tile at Wood Lake Gymnasium in accordance with letter bid number 14-1509 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman Brannigan. Councilman Denopoulos.
Once again, I mean, this tile that's being placed at Wood Lake Gym is coming out of, once again, that $175,000 small capital that comes from the rentals of the gyms and the baseball fields and things. And like you said, we can do a lot of small projects with that kind of money, but once again, we really need to get you some more money than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15F is a resolution certifying the compliance with the public bid laws for bids received on February 4, 2014, under seal bid number 13-6189 for the construction of drainage improvements to University City and Audubon Place subdivision areas, Phase 1, Hooper, Galan, and Majority Drives, and the intersection of Millsaps Place / Tulane Drive, State Project Number H.010107, City of Kenner Project Number 2012-001DR.
Motion by Councilman Denopoulos, second by Councilwoman DeFrancis. Councilman Denopoulos.
Once again, this is just in harmony, I guess, with 15C. It's just a resolution as part of the grant process that we have to state that we went through the bid laws in the process, and that, the low bidder and lowest responsible bidder was picked for the project. It's just a resolution as part of our requirement for the grant, and it's like, I would have preferred 15F before 15C, but I've talked it over. It didn't matter. It's just a matter of formality of passing a resolution to us stating that we did follow all bid laws when it concerned using these federal dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Denopoulos. Please vote.
Madam Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $5,390 for the purchase and installation of 10 Havas or equal consoles with mounts, mic clips, and map lights in accordance with letter bid number 14-1511 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $14,215 for the purchase and installation of 10 ProGuard or equal push bumpers, partitions, seat protectors, and cargo barriers in accordance with letter bid number 14-1510 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16C is an ordinance approving the purchase of Wheelan emergency lights, sirens, accessories, and installation from Vehicle Parts and Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $29,870, utilizing state contract number 408186 for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16D is an ordinance approving change order number 1 to the contract with Bow Brothers Construction Company, LLC, regarding repairs to the Williams Boulevard boat launch, seal bid number 13-6154, which increases the contract amount by $28,569.97. Item 16E is an ordinance amending the Kenner Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 2, Permit for Sale of High Alcohol Content, Section 3-18, to define a B drinker, and Sections 3-37, certain acts prohibited on retail premises, suspension or revocation for violation, and to provide for related matters. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Yes, Councilwoman Brannigan, you may be saying what I wanted to say, but I'm going to give you the floor. No, about the people who already elected.
Actually wasn't. Darn it. Okay. I saw this before I came over to the council meeting, and I thought it would be of interest. If you're watching this telecast before March the 9th, there was a press release from DOTD that said motorists will have restricted access to Interstate 10 next week and the 2.3-mile stretch from the St. Charles Parish line to Williams Boulevard. Only one lane will be open in each direction, and wide-load vehicles with widths of more than 12 feet will not be able to pass through the construction zone. There will be alternating entrance and exit ramp closures at Williams and Loyola Boulevard. The closures are scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. on Sunday, March the 9th, and will end at 5:30 a.m. on Friday, March the 14th. Crews will perform milling and asphalt paving as part of a $4.3 million project, according to the press release. So, for those who use that portion of the interstate, that will be something you want to take note of. The other thing, I cannot find it, but it was something that we received, maybe Ms. Newton can help me with this, about the events that'll be happening back out at the Treasure Chest again. We'll be having our crawfish Friday, I think it's on Friday nights, it's $10. This I remember, crawfish and $10.
It starts next Friday, the 14th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. on the lawn in front of the Treasure Chest. If you have a Be Connected player's card with the Treasure Chest or you're under 15, it's $10. If not, it's $15. Still a good deal.
What's a
Music
B-
is free.
Maybe Miss Black can tell me what a B card is. Because I'm definitely not under 14. Can I go as a guest of a B card player?
I'll let you be my guest.
It's free to sign up for a B card if you're of legal
Oh.
gambling age.
That I am.
And it'll be every other Friday, so March 14th with Groovy 7, March 28th with Papa C and the Slammin' Horns, and April 11th with the Top Cats. And information's on the city's
So
website and
excited.
Facebook.
It's on Facebook. I'd looked, I was just trying to find, I know I saw it somewhere today. And I printed it at my office, so it's probably sitting on the printer somewhere. But these used to be so much fun years ago. I don't know how many of you remember the concerts back by the Treasure Chest. You'd go out there on a Friday night. Didn't necessarily, they had other things besides crawfish. At that time, I really don't know what they're going to be offering besides crawfish this time, but it was such a wonderful event, and I was so sorry when it stopped for a period of time, but I'm looking forward to resurrecting that event. So thank you to the Treasure Chest and whomever else is involved. I guess City of Kenner, who they partnered with. Who?
Hey.
Who?
Just on behalf of the City of Kenner.
Oh, well, we all know when there's an event, Donna has something to do with it, so I know that, yes, well, thank you, Donna, and thank you, Treasure Chest Casino.
Thank you, Ms. Brannigan. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Jose Gonzalez is not here, but Mr. Jerry Dillenkoffer is here. And as many of us heard earlier through the mayor's proclamation, after 18 years, he will be retiring. And I will speak for myself. Jerry is one of those employees that works for the city that makes you extremely proud of the city that you live in. He's one of the most hardest working, detail-oriented, and competent people I have ever worked with in any capacity that I've done anything. So I appreciate what he does for the city. The citizens may never know his name, but I can tell you that when you drive down the street in your neighborhood, Jerry's responsible for taking care of those panels. The drainage in your area, much of the sewage, Jerry had to go out there and also take care of. Having said that, I have a few things I need to talk to you about, Jerry. 2 meetings ago, I think I requested, and I did it by memo, street panel repairs that needed to be done everywhere from West Metairie to Airline in the Morningside Park subdivision. I really need to get that. I don't know if you've put anybody on that. I have street money that I want to spend in that area, and after you tell me the answer to that one, I'm going to ask you about another area. When can we expect?
We started marking them. If you look around
Okay.
Fairway, 15th, up in 15th Street, I think I marked some on 13th Street. I was supposed to get with Bow Brothers today to start getting some estimates on some of that stuff. With the weather like it was, we're scheduled to go in there Monday.
Yeah, and I didn't see it on 15th, and I thought I checked it just 2 days ago. But
Yeah, well, it was done 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yesterday I wasn't able to get to it, but I mean, it was done 2 days ago, yeah.
And District 2's already put up some money for the Highway Park subdivision where
The handicap?
33rd Street, and a tremendous number of panels there.
Correct.
When are we going to, Bow Brothers has a contract, when are they going to?
It's actually, Fleming's got the street on the concrete side of it.
Okay,
They're on the board to get started pretty soon. We actually have 2 of that crews out here right now, because the amount of work that we have, and we're expecting a whole bunch more coming in. So I'd have to look back on the board and see when they schedule to go in, and I can get back with you on that.
Yeah, I thought you issued a notice to proceed, maybe even a month ago.
Yeah, but they're all falling, they're
Okay.
fell behind. That's why they have a second crew in here trying to get things wrapped up.
All right, and the other portion was the problems we were having at Indiana and 33rd, that corner.
That's correct. That's that corner that's sunk in the sidewalk area around the sewer, drainage issues up in there. We have that scheduled to go out. We're going to do that in-house.
And we had one more where I had written Veolia, as well as, I'm sorry, it wasn't, yeah, it was Public Works and Veolia. It was 2023 Roosevelt Boulevard. We need to see what we can do to repair this. This is not suitable for our pedestrians. Can we find out if there is some problem here, or can we can make that a more aesthetically pleasing walk for our pedestrians?
2200 block?
It's 2023 Roosevelt. And actually, and Mr. JR, I apologize, this predated you. It went to Mr. Stump, and I have a copy. It was July 10th. So it will be forwarded again tomorrow to you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Dillikofer, thank you again for all that you've done for this administration, this council, previous councils, and the citizens of our city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stagney. Councilman Denopoulos, you have the floor.
Well, I guess I was going to talk about something else first, but I guess leading into it, Jerry, you know, you did a magnificent job in my district over the years. You're going to make my job harder. You make all these council people's harder because you responded quickly. You got us pricing on projects, replacing streets or whatever it be, and we were able to spend our money as quickly as we could. Because let's face it, when you have capital money sitting on a shelf, it doesn't do much good for the citizens who want to see what their tax dollars are doing. And you did. I do spend my money fast because you do get me pricing back fast. And Jerry, you're a wonderful individual, a stellar individual, and I tell you what, my life is blessed because I've met you. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
And the thing I wanted to also talk about tonight is the adoption of the flood maps, okay? They've been certified, they're out there. I'd like to know, because let's face it, Amy, I know you're getting a lot of calls because people are getting their insurance policies, their flood insurance policies coming up, and they got to take elevations on some surveys on their properties. What can we do to urge the parish to adopt these new flood maps? I mean, is it something that the city can do, can urge to get it, how fast we can get these things adopted? I mean, every week, every month goes by, you get people getting flood insurance, and they need to get their houses surveyed.
But I know that a couple of weeks ago, you and I talked.
Yeah.
And I talked to Michelle Gonzalez, but there wasn't anything on the local level that we could do until it was on the national level.
No, they've been adopted. I mean,
Oh, they
that's-
did?
Oh, yeah, this is in the newspaper. They've all been, all
Okay.
the floodplains have been adopted, so.
When was that
Oh,
dated?
this was, the date of this was March 15th.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's recent, okay? So
Today is March 6th.
what I'm saying is, since, huh? March 5th. Wait, hold on. Hold on, I had the wrong date.
Was not
I'm
March
sorry.
15th yet.
March 5th, I'm sorry. Okay. I
All right,
have
well
my
then.
glasses on. So
All right,
it's-
well, I will get with
President.
Michelle Gonzalez tomorrow. I was unaware that that the federal government had adopted it. So
They have
that's the
not-
case.
This has nothing to do with the Bridget Waters Act. This is just strictly.
Right.
The maps have been
Right.
confirmed, but now the local, we have to adopt them.
Okay, I'll talk to Michelle Gonzalez tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Councilman Denopoulos.
Zero.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And I would like to thank all of the city workers and the crews and everyone that came out to Lundi Gras in Rivertown. It was a fantastic event. And little did we know, especially for myself, that would be my carnival, considering the weather on Carnival Day. So for some of us that was there, it was fine. It was a nice outing, nice music, nice food, crafts, It was great to see the lovely ladies from Argus and Zulu to be part of the court, and all of the city officials that came out. And for me, like I said before, that was my carnival because, you know, I was not going out on Tuesday. The weather was too bad. So again, great job for the administration to extend the hand to be able to have the collaboration of Zulu and Argus for us to come out and to show, you know, the festive that we have in the city of Kenner during the carnival season. Thank you, Madam
Councilman
President.
Carroll, and you're absolutely correct. It was a wonderful day, and I think everybody enjoyed it, and it meant carnival for a lot of us, because
Yes.
a lot of us didn't want to be in the
And
weather.
Before I close, on behalf of, you know, all the citizens of District 1, Jerry, you know, thank you for your support. Obviously, District 1 is the historic area of the city. Sometimes we're kind of slow to change some of the things that has to happen, and you always had a pleasant personality to be able to talk to the people and explain some of the changes that were taking place and that we had to adjust to. So thanks for that. Thanks for always being available to respond to the citizens and their needs as it related to public work issues. And I wish you all the luck in the future, you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman DeFrancis.
Thank you, Council President. Jerry, before you go, I have a small problem. I'm hoping you and I can get together and just, I need your advice because I've addressed it numerous times and the problem keeps reoccurring. It has to do with the small drainage issue. And we've addressed it at least 3 or 4 times through Jefferson Parish, and perhaps you and I could go out there together to see what really needs to be done so that it isn't a recurring problem over and over again. But having said that, I don't think people realize how many times you go out in the middle of the night. I can give an example. We had 2 problems on Bordeaux on 2 different occasions. I got a call, I was in bed at 12 o'clock at night. I received a call that the water was flowing everywhere in the street on Bordeaux, was flooding. I called Jerry, we were out there before 1 o'clock. We stayed all night. I think we left at 5 in the morning when we were finally able, with the help of Jefferson Parish, to get the problem under control. You brought out the barricades. We did it with the help of the police department. We were able to work together to get the problem resolved. And this didn't just happen once. It happened on more than one occasion where Jerry would get up in the middle of the night and we would spend, not just with me, with all the council people, time on the streets addressing problems no matter what time of day or night it occurred. And I think that says a lot about you, that it's not just, you know, an 8-hour job, but it's an all night, all day job, and that you put your heart into it. So I thank you for all your service. And if I can give you a call on that one small issue, at least before you leave, I'd really appreciate your help. But I want to tell you how appreciated you are by, I'm sure, not just the people of District 4, as the other council people have said, but the entire city for your service for all these years. Your heart's in the right place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman DeFrancis. And Jerry, I'd just like to say one thing to you. I never did like you.
No, you always call me George.
In all seriousness, I mean, real, I'm kidding. I have a way of saying things sometimes that it gets misconstrued, but I just want to let you know, thank you for all your years of service and your family before you, and I wish you well and hope that you go on to bigger and better things, but your services will be missed by the city of Kenner. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean.
And one other thing I'd like to congratulate, in the recent upcoming elections, when the qualifying, we have Councilwoman DeFrancis, who was elected without any opposition, so she will be Councilwoman at Large in Division A. Councilman Keith Reno was elected without opposition. He will again retain his District 3 membership, whatever. And also a brand-new police chief, Mr. Michael Glazer, was elected unopposed. So we congratulate those people, and I look forward to not serving with them since I will be retiring in July. And District 4, we have a newly elected person. Mr. Klein was elected, so there's going to be a lot of new members on the council. I wish I could be there to give them advice, but I won't be. I'll be traveling to Europe or something like that so in my retirement. But I want to congratulate them to make sure that they know that we appreciate their services, that they will be expended into the city of Kenner. So with that, we can move on.
Yes, ma'am. Item 18 is new business.
We have none.
Item 19 is unfinished business under motions to reconsider or remove from a table's position.
We have none.
Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matter.
Yes, we have 4. Mr. Al Morello?
Al Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 42 years. I got a response for some comments that was made in here back at the February the 6th meeting. I want to direct this response to you, Councilwoman Black. At that meeting, you held up a small piece of paper, and you suggested if I had anything positive to say about this council, that I should use that little piece of paper.
It was a little tiny stack, yes.
Well, I got the floor right now, Miss Black. I beg your pardon now.
You said that, I forgot to.
Oh, okay, all right.
Start
I
over.
want to say this to you, Miss Black. No, I don't need to start over. I'm sure everybody here heard me. I want to say this to you, Ms. Black. At this point in time, there's absolutely nothing positive I have to say about this council at all. So you can keep that little piece of paper. It's not needed. Now, as far as the new council that's getting ready to come in here July the 1st, following on the heels of what you just said, the way these seats were handed over seems like the way candy is handed out in the candy store. So let me just say this, in my opinion, that was quite dubious. So I can tell you something right now, they're not going to be in too good of a positive light as far as I'm concerned either. Okay, now, moving on, I want to move on now to the recycling bin over there in the parking lot at the Pontchartrain Center. I want to say this, that's no longer recycling over there. These people turned that into a garbage dump. Now, Monday, when I was down there walking past there, we had that strong wind, they had garbage strewn all over the place, all down there by the fairgrounds, all over the place. And it's horrible. And we got an RV convention or something going on down there, and it's getting ready to start this weekend, and some of these people were already down there and seen this. That's a mess down there. They've turned the parking lot of the Pontchartrain Center into a garbage dump. Now, in closing, I want to say this. I want to extend my prayers to Walt Panetti and wish him a speedy recovery. Also, Jerry Dillenkoffer and his family, I want to wish them all the best. Jerry Dillenkoffer has been an asset to this city, and he's been one of the public's most valued employees. Anybody got any comments, any questions? I got some time left, Jeannie?
Yeah, you have 50 seconds left, and I think that after you're done, we do have some comments.
Nobody wants to say anything now? I got 50 seconds. No? Well, that's okay. I'll go sit back down because we always got the next council meeting 3 more minutes.
And
Thank you, Jeannie.
I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I'm sure the city knows about it already, but Mr. Mike Quigley, the CAO, would like to address.
I'd like to talk about the recycling issue because we became aware of the issue on Monday, and I'm going to commend Ms. Newton. Ms. Newton, it was a holiday. Ms. Newton went out there personally with her 2 little boys and found that all of the recycling bin was completely empty, but people were just leaving the stuff outside of the bin. So she and her 2 boys went and filled it up with the recycling. So somehow we've got to get the message out that if you want to recycle, you have to put it in the bin. The bin was empty, and people just lay it out there and just think somebody else is going to do it. We don't have employees out there. It's a self-serve recycling bin, and they have to put it in there. So that's why it looked like the way it did. And I got to commend her. She went out there and did it on her own. So, it's something, it was recycling. And actually, we've talked to the police department. They send the beat policemen to try to pass around there and see if they can catch anybody. We've talked to the code enforcement. Code is going to have inspectors out there. But we need cooperation out there. I mean, this is something that people clamored for. We spent a lot of money trying to do it, and they're not putting the recyclables in the bin. So,
It's uncalled for.
I don't know how you can, to start off with, you figure someone that's making effort to go out there, has motivation to do it. They just got to go the extra step and put it in the bin.
Well, I think that it's deplorable that someone would do that because the city is trying to assist in keeping everything green, and that's the height of laziness, and shame on the people who have done that because it's there for purpose and they're abusing that purpose. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, Mr. Morello, and thank you, Natalie, for services beyond the call of duty with those adorable two little boys, and thank you, Mr. Quigley, for your comments. Okay. Mr. Larry Daigle.
Larry Daigle, 4128 Tulane Drive, Kenner, Louisiana, 5th District. Mr. Jeannie stole all my thank yous. I had them all written down. But anyway,
okay.
Mr. Francis, I want to tell you in person thank you and congratulations. And Jerry, many times I said in front of the mayor, I don't know if you got a house or not, but every time I see you in that truck, daytime or nighttime, but I don't know who I'm going to call now. I appreciate what you did for the city of Kenner, and good luck in the future. And Miss Jeannie, Karen told me to send you her love. She's going to miss you.
Just
And
sweet
good,
lady.
and good luck whatever you're going to do. And Miss Brannigan, good luck. And Joe, we got to be friends through the year. Got to know you. Even though I didn't live in your district, it was pretty close. We had to just remember good times. And I want to congratulate everybody that won the elections, and those of you who was in the elections, good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Daigle.
And it's
Appreciate
good to
your
live in the
comments.
city of Kenner.
Thank you. Mr. Jack Ziwi. Hello, Jack.
Hello.
Hi, Jack. That doesn't sound right.
Jack Zewe, 3221 Illinois, Kenner. A personal note of thanks to Jared Dillenkoffer. Not a cross word in all the years. We've talked many a times. Hurricane Isaac, him and I out at the sewer lift station. He's there because he has to be. I'm there just because I'm curious. And working in the rain, I helped him out, and it worked out pretty good. So I wish him well in his retirement. He is well deserved. The contractors refer to him as Kenny Rogers, for those who are wondering. So that's one of his nicknames. They can't remember his name, but they can remember Kenny Rogers. I'd like to talk tonight. I had a letter that was supposed to be handed out. I don't know where it went. Did anybody distribute that letter? Is it sitting with Mr. Stagney again?
I got it in my office.
No, he's got it. He falls asleep. At least I didn't have to file Al Morella. I'd like to talk about occupational licenses. I've been working on this for 5 years. The current enforcement of state law and city ordinance, section 1053, regarding the requirements for a business to obtain and maintain a valid occupational license in Kenner, is about as effective as Councilman Joe Stagney's leaf blower ordinance. On February 3rd, 2011, I appeared before the City Council with a public concern. I was greeted with immediate pushback, with the city attorney, Mr. Conley, writing me with a threat to sue me on behalf of others. Since then, I've quietly monitored this public concern and thought it was time to update the council. I requested and received from the Secretary of State an updated list of all businesses domiciled in and doing business in Kenner. I have also requested the very same from the City of Kenner. The Secretary of State's listing was provided to me in electronic format in alphabetical order, searchable by name and address. The list from the City of Kenner was provided in alphabetical order and in a document format. The state list shows a total of 5,712 businesses in Kenner. The city list shows a total of 3,276 license holders. Not all businesses operating in Kenner appear to be listed with the Secretary of State. There appears to be a total of 2,436 businesses possibly operating in Kenner without a valid occupational license. Applying a minimum fee of $50 for each violator, that reflects a minimum revenue loss to this city of $121,800, or since I spoke last, $365,400. The State Attorney General issued a legal opinion on June 7, 2012 regarding the requirements of when an occupational license is required. Simply put, if you operate a business or you own a property and lease it, you need to have an occupational license.
Mr. Ziwi, your time has expired, but Councilman Stagney has asked to give you an extra minute of his time.
Well, I'll make it quick.
Complete the letter, just another minute, please, because I know you're almost
Thank
finished.
you, thank you. Some possible violators in Kenner include, but are not limited to, Councilman Maria DeFrances owns multiple rental properties in Kenner. Former City Attorney Keith Conley has a private law practice with no occupational license. The Esplanade Mall, Simon Properties, owns a property at 1401 West Esplanade. On reason and belief and discussion with the general manager today, they haven't had a license in 18 years. The Treasure Chest Casino owns and operates a property, does not have a license. Chateau Incorporated, believed to be doing business as Chateau Estates Golf and Country Club, does not have a license. Digital Engineering, Cynthia M. Austin, a consultant for fundraising. Nick Nicolosi's company, NJN Limited, and a company known as JERB located at 3624 Lake Trail. None of those have licenses. That's all part of this public record. None are on this list. And there's many more, 2,400 more, that are not on the list. Simply put, we need to find a way to collect the money that the taxpayers are due. I respectfully ask for your help in finding a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziwi. Councilman Stagney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. First, since Mr. Ziwi brought up the leaf blower ordinance, I think it was an excellent ordinance that it may not have been enforced for the city, but it was an ordinance that we tried to stop grass clippings from going down in our drainage lines, and especially post-Katrina, that was a big issue where we had to expend some monies to do that. Mr. Mayor, in 2011, Mr. Ziwi addressed us regarding occupational licenses in general. One of the things we talked about at the time, just in general, was trying to find out from the Secretary of State, you know, who had businesses and whether we had a way of finding them, if we hadn't found them already, to get occupational licenses. Is there any way, I'm looking at the figures, I think what he's saying, just in general, in global, has some merit.
Yeah, we're in talks with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. They were looking at coming in to take over some of our tax collection, and that is something that we're a little hesitant on, but the Finance Department's in talks with them of trying to take over the occupational licenses, because obviously they have a much stronger mechanism, being the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Department, to enforce that. So that is something we have been in discussions with Sheriff Norman on, and are continuing that, trying to make sure we can enforce this better than we are.
Would they be able to identify businesses that did not have licenses?
That's something we're talking to them, what mechanisms they have in place to do that in Jefferson Parish.
Based on the figures that he supplied, he's basing everything on just a minimal $50 occupational license fee. Some of the entities that he mentioned, I'll just say one, Treasure Chest, and I don't know whether it's applicable to them or not, but, you know, they would pay $6,000, not just, you know, that's the top limit.
Right.
Not just the $50. So this could be a substantial amount of money out there on the table, and I do think that the issue you bring to us has some merit, and if there's a way we can identify, you know, those businesses who do not have a license, I think that way may be a way, because it is an unfair burden to those people who actually pay it. I know I pay mine, and everybody else here, I'm sure, pays theirs, so thank you.
Mayor, Mr. Quigley, I'd like to ask you something. If there's a business that's registered with the Attorney General and the corporation, and it is doesn't have any activity and hasn't had any activity for years, and it's just a corporation that was designated or initiated, do they have to pay occupational license even if it's non-existent and has no activity for years?
I would think not, but I don't know that I'm the right one to answer that question. But I do know that there are quite a few exceptions according to state law, and but I don't know how to answer that question. I'd have to defer that to an attorney.
Mr. Gruntz, if it's just, you heard my question. Wait, excuse me. Okay, you're on now.
Yeah, if a corporation is dormant, it can still be listed with the Secretary of State, but it's no longer in business. So, no, it would not be filing for an occupational license under those circumstances.
Okay.
So that could be a discrepancy in the numbers between the Secretary of State and here.
Okay.
But there are a number of mechanisms that we use to find people. Like the mayor said, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office does it all the time in Jefferson Parish.
Okay, because I thought you had to have an occupational license if you are actually doing business in the city. Some people have businesses out of their homes that they need to do, but if it's a corporation that is not active and it's no activity, I don't think that they have to apply for an occupational license because they actually are not doing any business in the city of Kenner.
That's correct.
And that was my question. All right, Councilman DeFrancis, you have the floor. Put your cue on again, Berea. My screen is blank, and that's why I'm asking you to put. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Ziwi brings up the fact that my husband has some rental property in the city of Kenner. First of all, let me say it's not an LLC. It's not run as a business. He's brought this up before. I checked into it again. And even in the letter that he gives to us, which quotes Mr. Buddy Caldwell, who is the Attorney General, it states that this is the opinion of this office that for occupational license tax purposes, the term business could, and I repeat the word could, include an individual who rents out residential real estate depending on the nature and purpose of the rental activity. Whether such rental activity actually constitutes a business according to the generally prevailing meaning of that term is a question of fact which should be determined by the parish on a case-by-case basis. So again, he's brought this up before as if it's something that I'm doing that is, that my husband is doing illegally. I checked into it personally, talked to an attorney as well. This attorney told me that no, he believed that we would not, that it would not constitute a business. Therefore, it seems a little bit unfair to keep bringing up the same thing over and over again just to try to make me look bad. I work very hard for this city, and I try to, and my whole life, whether I was teaching or whether I've been on this council, I've always done what I believe was right. I've never tried to circumvent the law. I didn't teach the children with whom I was working to circumvent the law, and I would never do that. I checked into it. I'm doing it the legal, correct way, and if it's not, then someone has to show me that I'm doing something wrong, and I will admit it. But I'm not going to admit that I'm doing something wrong when even Buddy Caldwell says, according to what you gave, Mr. Ziwi, that word could, and that it would have to be decided on an individual basis. I repeat, it's not an LLC, it's not run as a business, and believe me, if I told you how it was run, you would know it wasn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman DeFrancis. Point well taken. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. And Mrs. Ziwi, thanks for your information. And I didn't take it as a swipe at the council. I think the information is valid, and if it's something that we need to do better, then we should do better. And it's not, like the mayor said, we're going to work with the parish to see how can we improve this. If it's 2,000 plus numbers and not trying to accuse anyone, obviously there are some businesses that are not paying their occupational license, and that is what we have to address. I mean, to say one mention is the Treasure Chest, who we all know is a business, to say that they don't have an occupational license, for that to be the case is something that I find hard to believe that that's not the case. And I believe each year you have to apply for an occupational license. Is that correct? So to go year after year and not to apply for it is something that we are not doing our job if we don't look into this. And as far as Councilman Black stating what is and what's not, I think it's a certain percentage. I'm not the expert, that if you have a certain percentage of gross, then you are considered a business, which means you're making money. And whatever that percentage is, I think that dictates if you have to apply for occupational license. So this is something that is serious. This is something we always talk about, monies that we need for certain projects, from recreation to public works. If these monies are there to be able to get, from a legal standpoint, if it is established that a legal entity should have or should pay an occupational license, by all means, we should get these monies. And I think that is what Mr. Zeeby was trying to address as it relates to, I don't believe he was trying to accuse anyone. That's just my personal opinion. But the fact is, we sit up here and talk about monies we don't have. Hey, these are monies that we should be getting. And if it is the case, we should put something in place to address this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Carroll. The next person to come is Mr. Ronnie Yenny. Please give your name and, is he gone? You're signed up to speak? Okay, thank you. Having no further business, I make a motion to adjourn.